able to be here can access. So welcome to session 3, which is really going to be focused on utilizing LUDIA to analyze those DRDP reports. A friendly reminder that our QR code and tiny URL will take you to the home-based document that will have access to the rolling slide deck and all of the resources that we're going to be utilizing today. And we're excited to just dive in. My name is Emily Desjardins, and I am one of the UDL AT content leads with Open Access. And with me is the wonderful Sean Kaplan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Thanks for spending an hour with us.
We are excited to have you. So today's webinar and this whole webinar series is brought to you by Open Access, the Desired Results Access Project, and Cal Bloom. You can find information about all 3 of our projects by visiting our websites, which are linked on the home-based document. But all 3 of our projects are part of the California statewide system of supports, and we provide resources and supports to school districts, county offices of education, SELPAs across the state of California. And so if you're interested in learning more about our project, we encourage you to head over to that home-based document. So hopefully you were able to attend our first 2 sessions, and if not, that is okay. Those are posted, and there will be links to them in the home-based document as well, and they're also posted on our website. But in our very first session, we dove into those foundational concepts of universal design for learning. In our second session, we really explored that overview of what is LUDIA. And then today we're going to dive into using LUDIA to really analyze those DRDP reports. And then our final session next Tuesday on the 10th will be focusing on that implementation of implementation of LUDIA to be able to analyze and support lesson design as well. So one of the things that at Open Access, we really have this accessibility promise where we are really attempting to model UDL in action in all of our presentations and make sure that everything is as accessible as possible. So today you will see strategies like some simple backgrounds with high contrast text. You will see, we try as much as we can to provide as much digital and print material. Obviously, today's a webinar, so you're going to have it all as digital, but absolutely feel free to print anything that you'd like from that home-based document. Access to our slides and materials through the tiny URL and QR code. And then we're going to try our best to really make sure that we're providing those examples and non-examples and have that time for participation and engagement as well. So our hopeful outcomes of today's session is that by the end of our day today, that all of you wonderful participants will be able to understand the structure of a DRDP report, identify some of those strengths and growth areas in a DRDP report, and then, most excitingly, use that LUDIA to analyze those reports and generate next steps for your students and for planning purposes. So another way to kind of look at our objectives for the day is our little session path here. We're going to do just a very quick review, quick little activate prior knowledge to make sure we're remembering the last 2 sessions a little bit. And for anyone who wasn't here for those, just a quick little sprinkling. And again, if you want to go watch the first 2 sessions, you're welcome to do that as well. Then Sean's going to take us through breaking down the DRDP report. And then a big bulk of our session today is really going to be spending time practicing this. And you're going to have a choice of 3 different breakout sessions depending on what you want your focus to be with our time together. But really playing with LUDIA and getting some real application time. And then we'll do a little closing reflection and all that fun stuff. As with all of our sessions, we like to start with an inclusive welcome. And this is just, a way to check in and let us all share a little bit about ourselves. But for today, our inclusive welcome is really focused around, since our last session, have you tried LUDIA? We ended our conversation yesterday, I guess it was a week ago. We ended our session last week, really thinking about, we showed a couple examples of how to access LUDIA. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, how to access LUDIA. We did a little live demonstration, and you guys all had an opportunity to create your own accounts as well. And we kind of encouraged that you explore a little between our last session and today. So I would love to hear, since your last session, have you tried LUDIA? And you can use an emoji, or you're welcome to just answer, yes, I did, and I used it to blank. I explored it a little, haven't tried it yet. And I have a lot of questions about how to use it. And then the second question is if you did use Ludia, what did you use it to help you with? Was it helpful? What surprised you? So I'd love to hear. It's okay, good, bad, and the ugly. Help yourself out. Um, we'd love to hear answers in the chat though. Or you're welcome to unmute yourself as well, if that's easier to just respond that way. You know, you could also use reactions too. Oh, Courtney says, haven't tried it yet. Sorry, can't find that emoji. All good. You don't have to use the emoji. That's why the phrase is there. It's all good. Haven't tried it yet. All good. That's all good. You're gonna get to try it today, which is great. Um, yeah, it'll be great. Ooh, love it. Love Ludia to create rubrics. Did not take the previous training, so have not tried it yet. All good. We're glad you're here today. And really, there's no need to have. It's all good. Ooh, I used Ludia to create a rubric for student self-reflection. Love it. Increasing that agency too. We love that. I explored it briefly. It was a little surprising how long the answers were. I was expecting a format a little more similar to ChatGPT. Okay, Anna, thank you for calling that out. I appreciate you saying it because it's true. And I will say you can adjust it because I also was kind of struggling with that a little bit. I think when I want it as a thought partner, I'm okay with slightly longer answers. But when I'm asking it to actually do something for me, I'm like, can you please summarize? And you can say, hey, this format is a little overwhelming. Can you please imitate the ChatGPT format that's a little more summarized or add more bullet points? And it will respond. That's kind of that piece about AI is it's okay to go back and forth a little bit, which is awesome. Oh, Mandy, thank you so much for asking. The website that we looked into it for, we'll go ahead and if actually Lori or Leo will throw in the chat where you can find an access to Ludia. It's housed on the open access website. And it is probably going to ask you to create an account, but it is 100% free. Um, oh, Ashley says, explored it a little bit. I agree with Anna. It was surprised by the length and a bit overwhelmed. Okay, I appreciate your honesty and I totally understand. Um, I would also agree. Yeah, again, kind of go back to that chatting format. It's okay to do the call and response or to respond to it, and it will make adjustments as well. Still exploring, getting familiar with everything. Awesome, Lena. Thank you for being so honest and keep exploring. It'll be great. I did use Ludia for a circle time activity. It was a lot at first, but I was needing a quicker response. Once I asked for a shorter answer, it helped a lot. Awesome. I'm so glad it responded. Yeah, ask for more concise answers. It responds well. Awesome. Okay, great recommendations. I appreciate all of your honesty. And again, as we're exploring it today, just keep those things in mind. If you don't like the way it's responding, tell it. Be honest, and it will respond as well. All right. So we're going to dive into just like a quick little recap from our last two sessions. So our first session was really focused on this overview of what is UDL for anyone that wasn't there or for anyone who was there and would like a refresher. UDL is really a framework that is based on the neurosciences and is really focused on designing learning that is accessible for all. The idea behind it is to really proactively reduce barriers for our learners. And we know that barriers exist in every learning environment, and they're all going to be connected to the variability of our learners. And those barriers are going to be different in every classroom, but they're going to be connected to that variability of your learner population. The neuroscience behind UDL really tells us that in order for us to learn as humans, we must engage, we must be able to engage, we must be able to perceive, and we must be able to show our understanding. And so, knowing that we all learn a little bit differently, we can help all of our learners engage, perceive, and show our understanding by creating multiple means of engagement, representation, and action and expression. And I know that sounds a little bit daunting when you kind of summarize it that way, but the framework itself has some really specific strategies to create multiple ways for your learners to engage, perceive, and show what they know. And then in our second session, we really dove into what the heck is LUDIA? LUDIA is an AI chatbot that is been trained in UDL and UDL alone. It's really designed to support that thoughtful, efficient implementation. It was created by educators who just wanted there to be a platform for free UDL implementation and access for all. And so never will it charge you anything. It is a free resource. And it's really meant, again, to be that thought partner and have a conversation, but it also could help generate lesson ideas, analyze barriers for your learners, create flexible strategies aligned to UDL as well. And please know there are so many things that you can do with it. And as we were just talking about, if there's something you don't like, tell it you don't like it. And we talked a little bit about this in our last session, session 2, that sometimes the ideas it generates are kind of imagining you have an unlimited pot of money. And we know we don't have unlimited pots of money. And so it's okay to say, yeah, I would love for my children to be able to create stop motion animation, but we do not have the resources for that. We got pens, paper, and crayons. Like, tell me what I can do. And it will provide some great ideas. So be honest about the resources you have, and you'll get really good responses. So I guess what I'm saying is don't be super disappointed if you don't love the first answer. It's okay. The more you give it, the more it will respond with actual reasonable and attainable things for your specific environment. And then finally, a concept we talked about actually in both of our sessions, and it's connected to UDL, but we really kind of explored it in our second session with LUDIA as well, is this concept of firm goals, flexible means. And this is an instructional strategy that is really connected to UDL. And the idea is that when we create really targeted learning goals and we think about where we can be flexible in how our students show what they know, that we can really help remove barriers for our learners by creating some access to choice. And so with that flexibility, we can offer multiple ways for our students to access information, engage information, demonstrate their understanding. And that goal is really how do we remove barriers for our learners without lowering the expectation? And again, it's not that we're not teaching reading, writing, math, social skills, etc., but it's that if we are teaching a specific concept of, let's say, a science lesson or a history, I like to say like the causes of the Civil War. Okay, yes, we might include writing as one option for students to show what they know about the causes of the Civil War, but there's 100 different ways that a student could show their understanding that removes the barrier of text complexity or removes the barrier of writing ability, etc. So, kind of thinking about that flexibility in those terms. So we're going to move along in our learning path here, and I'm going to pass it on to Sean, who's going to talk a little bit about breaking down that DRDP report.
Excellent. Thank you, Emily. All right, everybody. I wanted, before we jump into looking at a report, how to read it, and look at it through the eyes of conversation with LUDIA, I'd love to know how many of you already have a reports account through our DR Access reports. You can, if you have your camera on, you can just do a physical thumbs up. You can use an emoji. You can drop a Y in the chat box. How many of you already have a reports account with DR Access? Yes, one. No, yeses and no so far. All right, this is going to be, I'm glad I popped this as a first slide just to see where folks are. So this is okay if you don't have one. What I would love for you to do is we'll drop in the chat box a link to our reports account so you can create an account. Okay. And if those who are responsible, Julie, I see the teachers that you work with do. So if you are not the person who is completing the assessment, then you may not have one already for that reason. There could be a lot of reasons. Oftentimes we hear, we didn't know that that account option existed. So we will drop a link into the chat box for you so that you can grab our page to create a DR Access Reports account. That's going to obviously be your first step in order to leverage DRDP reports and LUDIA together. So what you see on the screen is what our website page will look like. There'll be a blue um, option there. It's going to be over on the left-hand side of the screen towards the bottom. You'll click on that DR Access Reports right where that arrow is. And Kelly's dropped that direct website link in the chat box for you. And then this little sheet here, the user manual, there is a printed user manual that you can sift through in order to set up your account. There's also a video tutorial on there if you're having any struggles with creating the account. And if those things don't work for you, you can always contact us directly and let us know that you need some help setting up a reports account. But that will be the first order of business, so to speak, in order to be able to look at a DRDP report and then utilize that with LUDIA. If you are in a separate system that offers you reports, you can use those too. What I'm going to walk us through right now is going to be the reports that come from DR Access Reports, however. But there's no limit to the reports that you can use the information from and then have a conversation with LUDIA. I also want to acknowledge and point out that if you are inputting your DRDP ratings into SACE or Cyrus, if that is your platform that you are using, and you have a DR Access Reports account with the same email address and identifying information that you have in SACE or Cyrus, when you are sleeping comfortably at night, all of those rating records are going to be transferred automatically to DR Access Reports. So you will only have to input that information one time in either SACE or Cyrus if those one of those is your designated space to input your rating records, and it will automatically transfer. So if you put something in today, when you wake up tomorrow and get back to work, you can then log into your DR Access Reports account and have access to run the reports. All right. Any questions there before we click over to our next slide? Again, as Emily said, you're free to just pop off mute. If that's easiest for you, you could drop a question in the chat box. We'll monitor that for you. You're good, Emily. You can switch it to the next one. So this is a visual of what a report looks like. This is a child status report. Once you get all settled in with a reports account, you're going to see that there are several different report options. What we're going to be looking at today is just the child status report. That just means that you're looking at a report for one child within one assessment period. There are other options to look at multiple assessment periods, peer reports, group reports, and things of that nature. But we're going to look at a specific child status report today. The image that's on the left-hand side of your screen is what we call the summary page. It is the first or top page of a report. And this gives you a very quick glance and a quick access to see where the ratings are at the domain level. Helpful information, colorful, nice, pretty, quick glance. But as we start to think about using LUDIA to really refine maybe our lesson plannings, our activities that we're making available for children and how we're doing that with UDL in mind, you're going to want to go to the pages that follow that summary sheet. And that's what you're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen. That's where you're going to get into that detail, measure by measure, and be able to take a closer look at exactly where a child is at each measure within a domain. And then just below, you'll see that table at the bottom of that second page on the right-hand side. And that's going to give you a little more information. So if you want to click to the next slide for me, Emily, we'll sort of break down what you're seeing. On the summary page, at quick glance again, anything that you see that's leaning farther over toward the left are going to be indications that those might be areas of support that a child is needing. So that might be where you want to start to dig in so you can begin to frame a prompt for LUDIA in this area to provide a little extra support. Those that are farther over to the right, so for example, PD Health on this one is farther over to the right. That's going to be more of a relative area of strength for this particular child. Whereas you can see LLD is a little farther over to the left. We'll be able to acknowledge that that might be an area where we want to lean in with a little bit more support and get some guidance and ideas from LUDIA in that developmental space. And then next slide. And this is that measure by measure page where we're getting into a little more detail. So you're going to get the same type of information, but now at the measure level. You're going to be able to see which measure within a particular domain. This is the LLD domain. And you can see that not all measures are far over to the left. So this is going to help you zero in on the type of prompt that you might want to ask LUDIA based on more specific skills that fall within that domain. The table below is going to highlight each measure. It's going to let you know exactly where that rating is for that particular measure. And then it's going to define the current level of mastery. And then the final box in that table to the far right-hand side is giving you a preview, easy access preview to the next developmental level. This is going to be another sweet spot of information for you to take a look at as you work to create those prompts or refine and ask LUDIA some follow-up questions. You'll have a sense of where the child is at a measure level, current level of mastery, and then also sort of where they're headed for that next level of development. Are there questions about what I would say the anatomy of a report? The information that's provided for you here, or how to read it so far. All right, one of our breakout rooms will give you an opportunity to look deeper at a report and then practice with those prompts. So if there aren't any specific questions that are on top of your mind right now, that's perfectly okay. We'll have plenty of time to ask those questions in breakout rooms, and I'll pass it back to Emily.
We have one question in the chat from Lena that is
Oh,
LUDIA updated with DRDP 2025 for preschool and infants? And I'm
that is a
not certain.
phenomenal question. I'm going to lean in and say no, simply because the 2020 DRDP 2025 is going to be officially launched across the board, full requirement for everybody this fall. And so even the reports leads to another great point. The reports that you would have any access to and the language and the labeling of domains and measures is currently still going to be DRDP 2015. So it will be aligned with the current report version that you would have. You won't have access to a DRDP 2025 report until the spring of 2027 after you complete the fall 2025.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to dive into some practice application time here. And Kelly is going to open up a couple of breakout sessions. And you are going to get to choose your very own breakout session. And so we have three options for you. Breakout room 1 is going to be sort of some guided application and reflection. And Fred is going to model a little bit about how to use LUDIA, and you can ask questions, and it'll be more interactive, but he's going to be doing more of the modeling piece, and then you can respond and ask questions. Breakout room 2 is going to be focusing on leveraging LUDIA to analyze those DRDP reports, clarify goals, and Sean is going to give you guys some time to practice and ask questions and all that fun stuff. And then I am going to be in breakout room 3, and we're going to be focusing really on kind of leveraging LUDIA to really redesign your lessons and increase that learner agency, remove some barriers, kind of a little more of a UDL focus on that one. So feel free to choose any room you would like. And I was also going to say, if anyone needs help when you're choosing your own room, sometimes people struggle to find how to choose their own room. You are welcome to drop in the chat, hey, please move me to room 1, 2, or 3, whatever it is, and we'll just plop you in there. So we can do that for you. All right. And I think we're going to we'll do about 20 minutes and then come back together at 12:45, 20, 25 minutes. We'll probably do a little check-in, but get some good time to explore and dive in. Um, and if you don't yet have a LUDIA account, you're welcome to get that open and get started when you're in your breakout room as well. Or a DRDP reports account either would be a great one to open up as well. All right, so we're going to open up breakout sessions and start exploring. And you guys will find, if you're not familiar with, it'll say join breakout room on your bottom bar, and it will let you choose which room to go into. Oh, I just realized too, when I leave room, this will stop being shared. So I'm going to wait a minute to go to my room so that you guys can see what each one is about.
We've got Melinda wanting
Yes.
to go into room 1.
Kelly, since you're the co-host, I think it has to be you or Sean. Would you mind placing Melinda in room 1?
Lena, room 1.
Oh, I got someone in my room, so I'm gonna head there, but then it will stop sharing screen. Is that okay?
That's okay. We'll get
Okay.
we've got Rosa for room 1. Leah and I can stay in here and kind of help people get to where they need to go.
Okay, perfect.
Emily Nickerson, room 1.
Lori, if you make me co-host, I can help.
I don't have access to it.
Oh, you don't either?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Kelly and Ryan who are going to be, it's a Napa Zoom link.
Got it. We can pause the recording too if someone has access to that.
I think.
Oh, yes. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully, you guys had a great breakout room session and were able to explore LUDIA a little bit in a way that worked best for you. We're going to move on to just kind of our closing reflection and all of that fun stuff. We want to share some digging a little deeper with LUDIA and the DRDP. So we have something to read, something to listen to, and then something to explore. And actually, we will also link the setup account to this as well for anyone that does not have access to the DR reports or DRDP reports yet. We'll make sure we add that to the home base document and to this page as well. We always like to end with a little intentional close, and I would love for you guys to think about what is your one takeaway that you want to try. Maybe an idea that you want to explore, a strategy you want to explore. I'm assuming the tool is LUDIA, but it could also be maybe leveraging LUDIA and ChatGPT. What's your next action step? So just thinking about what takeaway you have from your breakout session and what you would like to try again. And you're welcome to unmute or share in the chat. Any ahas or takeaways? Anna says, an action step I have is to figure out how to get my data from Cyrus into the DR account to generate reports. That is a great action step. I love it.
And Anna, you don't have to do anything other than have the same email attached to both Cyrus and DR Access reports. It does it automatically while you're sleeping.
We love things that happen automatically. Beautiful. Eric says, seems like a great tool. I just need to catch up on what I missed at the beginning of this session. All right, awesome. Definitely encourage you to go back and watch since we are recording it, which is great. And if you have questions, you're welcome to ask those too as they come up as well. All right, you guys can continue to answer in the chat if you'd like, but I'm going to start making a few more announcements as well. Our final session is going to be on Tuesday, March 10th, and we are going to explore the implementation of LUDIA to support lesson design. We look forward to seeing you all there. And last but not least, we really would love for you to take a minute to fill out the feedback survey because it very much helps with planning our next session and hearing what questions you still have. We're going to drop that into the chat, so feel free to answer that and let us know what you'd like to know more about. And we're excited for that. And Leah is putting into the chat, all of our recorded webinars are posted on the open access archive virtual event, so you can find it there. And then we'll also make sure we link it to the home base document as well. Right. And if you have any questions at all, you are welcome to drop those into the chat, and we are happy to answer those questions for you. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for our 4th session. Thank you guys so much.
Melinda, did you have a question?